All right, Texas A&M, 4.5-point favorite against Florida. The over-under I have, 4 first-half snaps for DJ Lagway. God, I hope it's over. I really hope it's over, Will. Billy has said that they're going with a 2-quarterback system. Well, did he say that exactly? I don't know. I don't know that he officially said 2-quarterback system.
He said he's not starting Lagway, is what he said, but he's going to play.
He said that they're both going to be involved, and
yeah,
he's very clearly keeping it close to the vest with Graham Mertz's availability coming off of concussion protocol. We are recording this Wednesday afternoon, so by the time that people are listening to this, we'll have a bit more clarity on what that looks like with these new injury reports in the SEC. Maybe we won't have any more clarity. I don't really know. I would imagine that he's probably going to find a way out of that clarity. But if Mertz is still coming back from the concussion, obviously, and Lagway is getting them the start, the over on those 4 first half snaps, that'll hit. But I put that in there with the first half distinction because I don't think Billy wants to run a 2-quarterback system. I don't. Okay. I'm not saying he should. Don't think you should. I think he doesn't want to be definitive about how he addresses it publicly, and he would rather leave the door open, not just for gamesmanship, but also because it appeases the fan base to say that Lagway is going to be involved, just like he said the entire offseason. The problem is what happens if Lagway comes in and leads a touchdown drive after like a slow Mertz start? You going to put Graham Mertz back into the game? You're going to get booed when Mertz comes back into the game, and then now you got everybody against your QB1. I don't know. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe it won't. Feels like a very fluid situation. And while I do think that Billy's allegiance is very clearly to Graham Mertz based on everything he has said and done since he brought Mertz in, look,
his allegiance is to not having to relocate his family, I feel.
Yeah.
I think that supersedes everything else that's going on here.
But this, I do wonder. I would love to have truth serum of coaches that are on the hot seat publicly versus how they view it. Sam Pittman knows it. Sam Pittman is like admitting to the production crew, I'm coaching for my job. His athletic director had a vote of confidence late last season saying we are keeping him as our head coach. If your boss does
on
that.
The Hayes Fawcett graphic.
Wait, say that again?
I said on a Hayes Fawcett graphic, like one of those recruiting graphics.
God,
was not firing Sam Pittman. They should have photoshopped him into a stadium.
Oh man. If your boss does that, you might be on some borrowed time. Now, Billy's boss hasn't done that because Scott Strickland is, obviously his future is very much tied to Billy.
He's also coaching for his job. Yeah.
I
don't think just one of them gets let go.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think it'd be both of them. Does Billy feel like he's coaching for his job? Does he feel like he's making this decision at quarterback with his future in mind? Because I really don't think he's doing that. I think he's, for everybody that's like, oh, well, you got to give him Lagway. You got to show the fan base some promise, and this is why you deserve to stick around, because if you leave, then Lagway is going to leave. I don't think he views it that way. I really don't. We all might, and that's perfectly fine. I want to see more DJ Lagway. I have been saying since this kid signed, I want to see him play a lot of football. That would make me happy as someone who likes to see great quarterbacks play football. And so far, so good. He looks like he has all of the tools to become a great quarterback. I don't know if he plays in this game as much as Florida fans want him to. I really don't. I think this is going to be fascinating for the matchup as well with that Texas A&M defensive line, something we talked about a ton. I don't know how Lagway would handle Shamar Turner and Nick Scorton rushing him. I don't know what that would look like. I do know that I watched Graham Mertz navigate, air quotes, Tyler Barron that season opener, and it wasn't particularly good. The hit from Tyler Barron is the reason we're having this discussion and the reason why we're talking about Mertz being in concussion protocol. I feel like we're going to see Mertz. I feel like we're going to see a lot of Mertz, but the notion of Billy trying to calm the Lagway buzz before his first SEC start, that could also be a thing. I won't dismiss that entirely. I'm going to do something stupid here, Will. We don't have a stupid alarm, but if we did, it would be going off right now. Like the alarm that goes off when you're in reverse and your camera on your car is like, there's a car coming. Don't go anymore, you idiot. That's going off right now. A&M hasn't won a true road game in 3 years. October 16, 2021 at Mizzou. something we talked about. I think that continues here because there's just no way. There's just no way that Florida can possibly be as bad as it was in that season opener. There's no way. A&M's offense is traveling for the first time. As much as I'm still a Connor Wigman believer, I don't think he's going to go full Cam Ward on Florida. I don't know that he has that in the tank just yet.
You?
I know.
You?
Look, I'm going to pick Florida to win 24-21. Mertz starts. 3 plays from DJ Lagway that we get. They don't make any sense. One of them's a handoff. Florida fans are really underwhelmed. But not underwhelmed totally because Florida gets a win. God, I don't feel good about that at all. I went back and forth on this one all week, man.
Oh, man. That's okay. Is Billy a send Lagway in for a handoff guy or like a play him at receiver type of guy?
No. I will boo from home if he plays him at receiver. Mm-hmm. I will boo from home. He will hear me from my rural Central Florida basement that totally doesn't exist because nobody has basements here, Billy.
Basement there.
God.
Yeah. I'll say this, right? We always talk about it's a scoreboard situation, right? And the things that people love about you when you're winning are the things that start to rub people the wrong way when you're losing, right? So like a guy like Sam Pittman, well, he's a player's coach. He's one of the boys when he's winning. And when he's losing, it's like, well, he's in over his head, right? So give a couple more comparisons here. Dan Mullen, right? When he was snippy, when he was winning, it was cool. When he was losing, it became spiteful. Okay. So I said this last time and I fully believe it. Although they are incredibly opposite people, I think that Billy has found himself in an almost identical situation to what Dan Mullen found himself in.
Yikes.
And it's the opposite that's making him this way. See, Dan Mullen started to play Anthony Richardson out of spite. It was pretty clear, right? Like he almost set up Anthony Richardson to fail.
First start was against Georgia.
Yeah, like that's kind of like above the like that's being a jerk. There's no
2021 Georgia, like maybe the best defense,
I think we've ever seen. Yeah, like that was not setting up a kid for success. Yeah. And hey, we could talk about how bad my Graham Mertz bet was, but I also drafted Anthony Richardson in a fantasy league, and that guy can play a little bit. So, point being, I think that. Even though Mullen could be a little bit catty and that kind of turned on him, Billy has been very confident over his whole career, right? And when you're making the game changer coordinator, when you're adding your staff is ballooning, when you're hiring all these people, when you're quote unquote poaching your 4th and 5th choice from different schools,
overhauling the nutrition program and gaining 500 pounds of muscle
twice. Now hold on, we're taking out the first time he overhauled the nutrition and weightlifting program because it was subpar. We got there, all right. Yep. Now he's changed it again. Yep. So point being, it's confidence when you're winning and when you're beating Utah pretty much. But it becomes arrogance when you start losing, right? And I think you exactly hit the nail on the head here with Lagway, which is that unlike Mullen, who was like, here, damn, take Anthony Richardson. You guys are going to see how smart you are. I think Billy is in more of a position of like, I know how to coach football better than everyone. I don't care what the stimuli are. I don't care that Mertz was a guy who had weird turnover problems and now he has a concussion. I don't care that, we have these line issues and a quarterback that is my age and can't see pressure at this point in his career. I'm still going to play him out there because he's a veteran. And so to your point, like I joked about relocating his family, but I think when you're wired a certain way, I think you're exactly right. I don't think you can change your stripes at that point. And I think that for him, he's still going to go with what he feels gives his team the best chance of success, because I don't think he is the kind of guy like Mullen who is trying to take these little jabs. I think he truly just sees what's right in front of him, and I think he's a little bit confused as to why he's not working at Florida, because I think at ULL it worked out great for him. So I think he's just waiting on it to just spontaneously change. And so point being, I really think I've actually kind of changed my opinion after hearing you explain this. It's like, yeah, I don't think he's going to come out there and play Lagway a ton of snaps to appease the fans, because I think that he say what you will about him, has done things his way the entire time, right? I mean, he's hired these coordinators that are like recruiters. He's done things that are against the grain. And so he's not just going to go out there and be like, okay, guys, we're going to do a fan vote. Who's going to call the next play? Like, this is not fan control football. So in the back of his mind, he probably still thinks he has the confidence that he had when he interviewed for the job, where you're saying scared money don't make money. And he's showing, I think he believes he's one of the best offensive minds in the sport. And so I think at the end of that's a fact, right? It's how he's done everything. When you talk about play calling duties, when you talk about that type of stuff. So I think we all try to relate to college football coaches as much as we can, right? And I blew a 2-point conversion last night in my online NCAA league, and I felt like Brian Kelly. I get it, right? But at the same time, it's really hard to relate to these humans because they're so different from us. And so whereas fans might see it as obvious, like, oh, you got to play Lagway. He's this guy. You're trying to sell hope. You're trying to keep your job. To Billy, he thinks that winning is going to do that because he thinks that he can beat this team. Now, that being said, going back to Sam Pittman briefly, it was the first time Arkansas ever won in the Swamp ever last year.
Correct.
Was that like the best Arkansas team you've ever seen, or was it like the worst non-Chad Morris Arkansas team you've ever seen?
It was pretty good among the 4-win Arkansas teams that I've seen.
Yeah, that's fair. Depends on how far back you go. But yeah, I mean, like, definitely not a Houston nut team. You know what I'm saying? That team had 5 wins with the great running backs. But point being, like, I believe in A&M more than I believed in Arkansas last year, right? So at the end of the day, like, I think Florida has objectively gotten a little bit worse. And say what you will about them getting worse, they don't have their quarterback. So it's pretty easy to say they're worse than last year because last year they at least had their option A. And you could argue, oh, will it be better, if like you never, ever, ever, ever want to say this, but it's like, well, it would be better if, Mertz didn't wake up feeling great and Lagway just ended up playing. Probably, right, in terms of the actual X's and O's of the game. But that's not the world we live in, right? It's that Billy is probably going to play this guy. And concussions are one of those things, especially, look, man, you played football. I did MMA. I'm just going to be real with you guys. Guys will never take themselves out for concussions. It's something that players and athletes see completely differently than fans. You can't evaluate a concussion unless you really take somebody in for like an MRI or you really get in there. And most of it's about how do you feel. And so it's really hard for a coach to take a player out unless they're like seeing triple or they're like looking at the wrong sideline like Bryce Young or something. It's hard to take a player out for that. So I think Mertz is going to try to hang on to that job because he knows this is his last shot at playing college football. So at the end of the day, if you have a coach and a player who are both invested in that, then I think it's going to create a liability, right? So point being, I actually love A&M. I think their pass rush is arguably better than Miami's with those couple of guys that you mentioned. I think their offensive line is just as good, if not better than Miami's, right? In terms of, that's sort of being fair to Mario. Yeah, it's not really fair to Mario, but I do think that A&M has a kind of an underrated offensive line when you think about the guys that did stick around and kind of, as recruits, right? Now that they're getting good coaching, I think we're going to start to see that offensive line really turn around. So honestly, I think A&M is going to push Florida around. That's the easiest way that I put it. Maybe I could be wrong twice about Florida. It'd be too high on them and then too low on them. That would be awesome. But right now, I look at A&M and I think, hey, you guys really hung with Notre Dame until, the end of the game, right? But that just kind of breaks it open. But at the end of the day, it's like, I think that these might be we talk about like different coaches. These are incredibly 2 different coaches. And I feel like Billy has been kind of brash and emotional in time. Whereas like, I feel like Elko is a lot more like just the facts, sir. And I think that could really benefit him in this game. So actually I'm going to take A&M to win and obviously cover, or not obviously cover. They're actually a favorite in this game, which is kind of funny, but I think they're going to win by about a touchdown.
Yeah, if Florida loses as an underdog and it's 1-2 and the offense just still looks like it's stuck in the mud, good Lord.
Yeah.
Good Lord, man.
I'll say this too. Like, would you trust in a game like this, right? Would you trust the brash offensive guy with the hurt quarterback at home in front of all those fans that probably want him fired? Or would you trust the guy who just doesn't ever show emotions other than when he wears weird shirts?
Elko's got some sideline blowups. He's got
some. Yeah. Again, Brad Kelly coaching tree, but like point being, he's very like, I don't think he lets his emotions get in the way of his job the way that Billy kind of has proven to, right? And so point being, like, I think that in a game that's so emotional, sometimes being water, sometimes being Sun Tzu is a good way to do this. And I think that's what Elko brings to the table because he's truly playing with house money at this point. He's not getting fired for losing to Florida.
Right. And that's maybe the reason why I think Florida comes out and is the more desperate team. 2 teams that both have a loss already. Yeah. Could be kind of like, all right, you're still figuring figuring out who you are on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe Florida somehow benefits from that. I admit this is not one that I feel particularly good about. And I'm kind of glad that we're on opposite sides of the spectrum because this
one of us has to be right. Dang.
Yeah, goodness. Neither of these teams have really been particularly convincing so far.
I'm going to ask you this, then we'll get out of here. Who do you like better as a play caller, Klein or Billy?
I mean, I'd go with Klein because I've seen it with different quarterbacks so far, and I felt like he's been able to maximize. I mean, he had 3 different quarterbacks have a lot of success with Will Howard, with Adrian Martinez, and with Avery Johnson. What he did at Kansas State, if they were both free agents, I'm taking Colin Klein, despite the fact that obviously, you got to be able to show in the SEC if you're going to be worth the money that A&M ultimately paid him. But yeah, I mean, I think both of them have big questions in this game and need to be able to scheme well to win.
I think it's a big Wigman game. Anyway, on to the next one.
Big Wigman game, definitely.